Thank you. Thanks for having me. I asked the guys behind the stage, is it buongiorno or is it buonasera after lunch? And I heard it's buongiorno until 4 o'clock. I have the pleasure to hopefully keep you awake so you don't fall into your lunch coma after lunch. I hope you enjoyed lunch. So I want to speak about design today. Sorry. All right. So we designers are often asked to solve problems. Design is often described as problem solving. We are asked to create solutions, to create offers. But the big problems of today, the sort of navigating the uncertainties that we're speaking here today, they are big problems, right? And they're not so easy to solve. There's not always one solution for that. So I believe that design can help us make choices, make the right choices, may it be small ones or bigger ones, and I would like to speak about that today. And Carlotta, I'm one of the designers who used to design one thing after the other, right? So this is one of the first products we designed with our team in Munich. This is a vacuum cleaner, obviously, for the German company Miele. And at the time, this was in the early 2000s, and I'm proud to say that the product was on the market until, I think, 3 years ago, unchanged. And at that time, we were discussing and asking questions like, can we make that line straight there? We're very proud to get a design that is very straight and very simple. We didn't so much think about or ask the question, what material is this product made from? How is it going to be disposed of? So this is a picture that I took last year in New York City, in Soho. The product was sold there as well, globally. And somebody had disposed of it in a probably not unusual way, just sort of dumped it on the street. And this kind of issue, the fact that I'm part of an industry that creates landfill, that I'm part of an industry that sometimes designs things that sort of lets people kind of get away from their senses, is something that's been with my career from the beginning. That's kind of why I wanted to become a designer, to understand what I can do to make things better, actually. And so it's a dilemma, and I'm hoping to share a perspective about that today. I want to speak about, can we design new humans, new economies by design, new organizations by design? Let's start with humans. We recently, just a few weeks ago, finished a project. It's a study project. It's an experimentational project. And we tried to tackle this question. Can technology help us make the right decisions about how we live our lives? And what the AI products of tomorrow might look like. We called the project Hyperhuman. So, a picture of the Guardian. I think this is it's kind of a scary image in my mind. This is a solution to a problem. We're lacking the ability to take care of elderly people, so we're putting them in front of robots or robots in front of them to help us with that problem. So that's a solution to solve that problem. Is that the right solution? Is that a desired scenario? Is that a scary scenario? I mean, I don't want to judge that. You think to yourself, but this is something that was very interesting to us. As a designer, I might go and be very excited about designing that machine or how that machine talks to that person, how that machine learns. But we wanted to get a little bit more deeper, and we also wanted to collect experience because it was our first time we really dove into AI design. So we took 4 familiar objects, and we thought about how they might change and how might they be enriched with AI. So this is the empathy writer. It's a typewriter that lets you choose these little pink things that are stuck in the back. They are little chips that give you certain characters that are important to you, and for someone you might be talking to or someone you might be writing with. And you just put them in there, and then you start writing, and it gives you the perfect letter, the perfect conversation with that person. See to yourself. So the empathy writer, and here's a possible love letter that it spits out afterwards that you can just give to the person you want to write to. The second product we looked at was the compass. So most of us, or we all, are looking for meaning in life, and we're sometimes looking into our future and want to make decisions about our future, where to go, and what job to take, what education to dive into next. So the empathy writer, the purpose compass is trying to give you some guidance there. It's trying to tap into your personal qualities that you might have that equip you with navigating your life. And then it is helping you steer your way towards a goal. See how it works. So the purpose compass. So this is what Susanne might get. The caregiver could be her next step, her trade that she wants to dive into. All these ideas, there were 4 products, they were actually prototyped. This is the power of design, right? We can go and learn by prototyping. So we built, the team built these devices, designed and built them, coded them in a way that they can actually work as you've just seen them. They were exhibited at the Munich Creative Business Week. There were thousands of people for 1 week of a big design event in Munich, as every year. They came through and saw the exhibition. And we invited the design community, an international design community, and some guest speakers, experts in the field, to talk about the exhibition and AI in general. We do these kinds of events often. And of course, these ideas, these concepts, they're not solutions for us. They're comments, they're questions we want to raise. They're us learning about the subject matter, they're us diving into it, bringing experts in and trying with design methods to understand where this technology can go, or where we don't want it to go. So as Fast Company writes very well, I think, IDEO's AI machines explore the future we may or may not want. The second topic, new economies by design. You're going to hear later from Simon about the circular economy, and we're very engaged in helping design that. So we have a relationship with Ellen MacArthur Foundation, designed a design guide for them. You will learn about that. And we decided, again, to think about this topic from, with our skills, from diving in and thinking about how we can design potential solutions or potential ideas that could at some point raise questions to design the right solutions. So can we design business that is better for our planet? We called it smart things that will save the world, or products that are never finished. So here we really focused on physical products, things. I want to show 2 or 3 of them. So the makeup case. This is an industry that, in my mind, is guilty of a lot of problems. Chrome plating or gold plating or whatever, metal plating, plastic is one of the worst things you can do. And then trying to dispose of that. And it raises kind of desirability, to make something that feels and looks great and I want to carry it with me. But when you look at how it's made, it's actually not great for the environment. So here was the idea, very simple. Could I package a cosmetics compound, in this case a powder for your skin, could I package that in something precious? And in this case, it's a brass material that gets more beautiful over time. It starts to polish as you wear it. And the compound is simply replaced every time you need a new one. It's a refill. Additionally, we thought maybe this could learn about your skin type, how your skin changes, and what your skin needs, and you can actually get a compound that's better than the one before. So this idea that in a circular economy, you can actually learn, designers can learn about the quality of the product and better it every time because you're staying in a closed loop. Or this product, it's quite self-explanatory, a lipstick. The case is reusable, it snaps closed with a magnet, really beautiful, and you replace the stick itself. Or this shoe. Today, we might be able to send a shoe back to recycling. A lot of companies take shoes back, but we wanted to take this a step further. So the idea here is that this shoe could be, it's 3D printed or it's woven, 3D woven, and it actually understands how you wore it. So this shoe would be worn out. You bought it, you wanted to now send it back. And the company can scan the shoe, and it can scan the material, and it understands how the shoe was used, where are the places, like a leather shoe that you wear for years, and all of a sudden is very comfortable. It gives the designer and it gives the manufacturer feedback of how this could become a better running shoe. And then you get the shoe sent back to you, you wear it again, and then once you feel like it's worn out, you send it back. And it could adapt to your way of athleticism, how your weight changes, or whatever. Or this slightly ironic comment as well, you know how we all kind of have these aspirations, we want to get more athletic or lose weight or eat more healthy or whatever it might be, and we buy a product. We buy a blender to make fruit juice, we make 4 or 5 smoothies, and then it kind of gets put back into the cabinet, and it dies a slow death there. And at some point when we move after 10 years, we find it and say, oh, I forgot about this thing. So this thing's different. So this toaster, in this case, sends a message to your smart device at some point and says, well, I've been in your kitchen cabinet for the last 5 months, and I'm actually worth 69 euros on eBay. So something like me was just sold. Why don't you sell me? And you just click yes, and it puts it on eBay. So again, this was not meant to be a solution that we would then pitch to a manufacturer of toaster ovens or blenders. It's meant to raise the question, how do we think about how these products are being used? Are they being owned? How does a product look like that's not owned, but it's used by many? Is a used by many car looking the same way as one that you buy for yourself, for example? Those are questions we want to get behind, because I personally think these are very, very rich and very exciting questions to answer as designers. So one outcome of this was there was a lot of interest for this, and a lot of people, it turned out, thought about the same thing. So we have a platform at IDEO called Collab, and this platform is a new way of collaborating with clients or having clients collaborate with each other. So it's a platform that allows members to participate for 1 year, and during that year, they do several design sprints together. So in this case, it's the Collab for Circular Economy. I'm telling you about 2 companies that are part of that. It's H&M, Heinz & Mauritz, and Steelcase. So a fashion company, textiles company, and a company that designs the workplace of the future, furniture. So those 2 are part of the collab, for example, and they get to work together. And otherwise, they probably wouldn't tackle a question like this together. And this is the point we're trying to make, is that we're convening this conversation, we're convening a collaboration in new ways that will where we hopefully together can create something new. Because in my mind, the circular economy is nascent. It's something that we're all starting to tackle. We haven't figured it out. Nobody has really figured it out yet. I think it's fantastic, that companies like IKEA are setting very, very clear goals, and they're working towards that. Other companies are not there yet, and it's something that is really exciting because it's starting. It's not something that someone knows the solution, everyone tries to get there. We're doing this together. And this is the only way to tackle such a systemic big problem, is doing that together. So the collab is one small way of contributing to that kind of collaboration. The third one, new organizations by design. Can we design organizations that put creativity at their core? So imagine you have a business, or maybe some of you have a business and you're involved in a business, and you've been doing things in a, for example, linear economy for your whole life. And now someone is asking you to change and say, well, let's tackle the circular economy. It's a big change, right? So what are the conditions you have to set in order to tackle that change? And I think one of the biggest things here that we designers, and a lot of you are designers, and I was asked to speak to you about the opportunity of design. I think one thing we have that's very fundamental and inherent to how we are trained, how we think, is creativity. And so a lot of companies now are starting to think about how they can bring creativity into their organization in order to tackle change. So how can we help them creatively lead their future? So companies today are bombarded with buzzwords, with ideas, processes, agile, design thinking, this strategy, this framework, that framework. I'm going to show you a framework in a minute, so I have to be careful what I say. But we're trying to help them navigate through design these kind of offers that they're getting in order to change. So I want to just show this one framework because I think it's quite important to understand one main thing here. Hopefully, an organization, a company, a business has a purpose. Why am I in the world? Why am I relevant to people? Why should people adhere themselves to my brand, my offer, whatever I'm doing? And once companies have figured that out, or they think they've figured it out, they are often trying to go directly to the outcomes. So now we know why we're here. Now we're designing the offer to fulfill that promise. We think it's not that easy, because a lot of times that means change. It might mean doing things in a different way. So there's a bunch of behaviors that you can set, or conditions you can set, that will help you tackle this change. So one is, of course, the strategy, the direction. So, what does this purpose mean? How can I break it down so it's meaningful for people outside and inside the organization? What is the structure? How are we structured to deliver to that? I think structure, in a lot of times, is in the way because it hinders collaboration. It's so difficult to have different departments collaborate with each other, oftentimes in big companies. So the structure is really important. The infrastructure, the tools, the processes, how things flow, and a very important one to me, and one that is incredibly hard to tackle as well, is incentives. We often talk about, well, experiment, learn from failure, try something out, and then go and iterate and do the next step. So how can I do that? How can I feel encouraged to do that inside an organization if I'm incentivized for my success, for my personal success? I'm not incentivized to actually make mistakes. So unless that is turned, it's going to be really, really hard to set the conditions for change. And of course, that has a huge effect on the talent you're going to attract and you're going to work with. So once you've said that, the behaviors inside the organization will come from that, and they will then drive the outcome. So we feel those four things have to come together if you want to navigate change, if you want to design an organization that has creativity at its core. I want to show one example that's it's running right now. You can actually go on Instagram and find it there. The whole process of the project is on Instagram. Can we design actually behavior change? So not only how big organizations work, but also how each one of us behaves. Because I do think, as I said in the beginning, a lot of the big problems can be tackled also individually by all of us, to think about every day the decisions that I make. So can we design behavior change? We are working with the Wellcome Trust, which is an organization in the UK, in London, and they're supporting basically creative matters in the medical area, the health area, and they're trying to have companies collaborate. And so together with them, we're tackling the question, how might we influence behavior change in middle-income countries to reduce antibiotics taking unnecessarily? So antibiotics given and taken unnecessarily or the wrong way are a big problem because we get immune to it, and at the end of the day, they're not helping. So this is something, especially in middle-income countries, that's very important to understand and to do something about. And so as IDEO does, we go out and we're trying to create an understanding of people. So we talk to the different people that can actually contribute to that or are contributing to that problem today. First, the patients. So this guy here, one of these people, actually we're researching in Kenya. This is a collaboration between IDEO London and IDEO.org. That's a non-profit organization for IDEO, and IDEO.org has an office in Kenya. And we also have good connections into India. We used to have an office there as well. So those were the two countries we chose to research. And so one of the people we asked, one of the patients said, I'm almost like a doctor. I prescribe myself medication and others too. So this is someone who is thinking that they can actually avoid going to the doctor. So that's a typical problem. We're deriving an opportunity from that, and that is how can we help them see the value in real diagnosis and understand the difference between medications. So that's the design opportunity here. The next one is the community health worker. I try to notice if a child has a runny nose, and then I give an antibiotic. So the opportunity here is to reduce provision of antibiotics through empowering education and training. Because the community health worker wants to build trust. They want to build that connection to the patient, and they do that through solving the problem, giving the antibiotic. And how can we get in there and get to the place that they want to build trust? How can we use that as a design opportunity? The pharmacist, of course, has an economical point of view on the whole issue. If a customer can't afford the full course, we just do 2 to 3 days, which of course is not the right thing to do. You have to adhere the full time. So what can we do? We can encourage compliance through taking full courses of antibiotics. And then finally, the doctors. Of course, the doctors want people to come to them. And by the time they've come, it's kind of too late already. They already took a lot of different drugs, and it's hard to medicate. So the opportunity here is encourage patients to come earlier, and the compliance through understanding resistance and the value of treating the cause versus symptomatic relief. So one idea, or one thing we do is we create what we call sacrificial concept. So a sacrificial concept is a quick idea that we prototype, and it's so quick, and we don't adhere ourselves to it too much that we can just scrap it when it doesn't work. So this idea was to have a cough Shazam. What if you cough into your smartphone, and then it tells you kind of, it's serious or not so serious? We actually programmed that or coded that and made it actually work. And of course, there's a huge problem with that, right? It's that safety. What if you actually have something that's very dangerous and it doesn't tell you? That would be a problem, right? So that was probably not a great idea, but I'm just making the point that it's a good idea to quickly have an analogy, have a sacrificial concept, put it in front of people, get feedback, and learn from that. That's one idea. So I want to share with you 6 aspirations that I think we have, or we should have as designers, when we want to use the power of design to solve and tackle big systemic problems. The first one is in change. Design takes a specific mindset that helps us creatively lead change. The example I just showed is we're looking at all the different participants in the problem, and we're trying to bring that all together and make that the basis for the design opportunity we want to tackle with creative measures. And I think that's a very specific way that designers have to be able to look at the problem from different angles. And it's something that's very, very important. The second one is curiosity. For me, design is fundamentally optimistic. It's forward-looking. It's driven by curiosity. It should start with a question. I think we shouldn't hide behind this idea, I'm solving a problem, I have a technical problem here that I can solve. We should really try to gain some distance and frame a bigger question. So like this example, this is a study project we did where we thought about mobility. It's called automobility. And here one idea was that this autonomous vehicle would come to you to provide a workspace for you, so you could work with a view of the Alcatraz prison if you wanted, for example. So we're not saying that that's the future of work necessarily. We're saying that's one way of looking at autonomous vehicles and one way of looking at how we work in the future. Ambidexterity by design. And this goes back to how organizations are built. There's a big tension today. Imagine, or you're working in a company that is designed to optimize the today. There's low ambiguity, there's a high number of constraints, there's a business model that is known, might be linear, there's optimization, institutional knowledge, reduction in variance, risk to be mitigated, benchmark within other companies in the industry. It's a linear way. And then a company comes and says, be agile, change all of that, be creative, do everything differently. You have to cultivate the tomorrow. There's high ambiguity, there's low number of constraints, the business model is unknown, invent something new, experiment, learn from failure, seek for opportunities that you haven't seen before, and embrace risk and incentivize your people to do so, and be inspired by the world and be iterative. So those things are, when you look at them in contrast, it's a drastic contrast, and it's really, really difficult to look only at one thing. And it's, I think, the problem that we have today, that we are often looking either to the left or to the right side. And I think design can help us manage this tension, because there's a time for each one of these, and this tension is really important, and moving within that is something we designers can provide. We can provide a guidance for that. Fourth, collaboration by design. This is an IKEA example that I have here as a slide. We thought about the future kitchen 2025 a few years ago. And this was two universities coming together, Eindhoven Technical University and the design school in Lund. It was people from IKEA, from all over IKEA coming together, from different disciplines, different departments, outside experts. We had student groups from all over the world participating in this. And my point here is that by looking at this problem together, we got to an exciting place. And the question that IKEA asked us was not, design us a new kitchen cabinet. The question was, how will people grow food, harvest food, store it, prepare it, enjoy it, dispose of it? So it was a bigger question that we looked at together. So collaboration is key. The fifth, of course, empathy. Everything starts with people. Design is fundamentally human-centered, and it's anchored in empathy. We have design research ethics that you can see online that we use to drive our research and how we learn from people to derive opportunities for design. And lastly, values by design. Designing a creative culture needs values. We have the little book of IDEO values, and these are the values we try to live by. Make others successful, collaborate, be optimistic, take ownership, learn from failure, talk less, do more, and embrace ambiguity. These are the values we set for ourselves that we try to live by. So I want to close with asking you, designers, creatives in the room, one question. What will you design that will help make the right choices? Thank you.